You joined me out on the trail today in one of my least favorite cars. I hated this thing when it was new. I thought it was a buzzy little Econo box that was pretending to be a Jeep. I'm talking about the Renegade. And my dad said, you know, give it a fair shot. Let's see if you're right or wrong. Go take it out to Moab, Utah, go put it on some slick rock and find out what it's really about. Oh boy. The Jeep Renegade launched for the 2015 model year, and it came with a great song and a catchy commercial. Wow! Oh, already scraping something there. What am I hitting on? Take a look at this. I cannot see this obstacle at all because of this black hood bulge. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. That's not the problem. It's not actually the trail. All right, try that again. The issue is once you tore back the marketing, you realize that underneath this vehicle is based on a Fiat. And they try incredibly hard to convince you, no, this is not a Fiat. This is a true red-blooded, red, white, and blue Jeep. And I've always been skeptical of that claim, which is why we're out here at Jack's Tracks in Moab, Utah, which is a trail which challenged the Hummer EV on 35s and these enormous amounts of ground clearance. And I thought, I'm going to prove my dad wrong. I'm going to prove that this thing really is just a rental car in bright yellow clothing. So, well, actually, I hate to say it, but it's kind of doing okay. Dang it. So this has got this 2.4 liter buzzy, noisy, powerless engine, which makes like 180 horsepower. But the Trailhawk has shorter gearing and is climbing this slick rock with this 9-speed automatic transmission with the shocking amount of ease. Oh, it's going to be stuck now. No, it's not. It's still going. So not all Renegades are made the same. There's the Sports and the Limiteds and the Latitudes and all sorts of special editions. In fact, I did a breakdown a long time ago where I went through all the trims. It went pretty viral, but I look absolutely ridiculous. I seriously look like I'm 9. But look, the Renegade flavors are very different depending on the year and the spec and the trim. Now, this is a 2016 and the Trailhawk. In some ways that the Trailhawk differentiated itself. You got the black sticker on the hood to help prevent glare. I don't know, look cool, but you do have integrated recovery points down here on the front end, 2 of them, 1 on each side. There does appear to be a lot of plastic here, but underneath the plastic is a true metal skid plate. Then wheels and tires were different on the Renegade compared to other trim. So the Trailhawk here has this quite attractive 17-inch wheel, very Subaru-like. And then we're rolling on a set of Wild Peak tires. This is a new AT4W by Falcon. I've been really impressed with this tire. First time running it ever. Brand new compound. It's an all-terrain, but it's super quiet on the road. I've been very impressed. Not much you can do in terms of tire size on a Renegade. So 225/65 R17 is roughly the max if you want to avoid hitting that McPherson strut front suspension without going with a spacer. You can lift them with like a puck lift, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can put bigger tires on them. Trail rated badge down the side, Renegade in red here on the Trailhawk trim. And then out back, what is cool about the Trailhawk is once again, they did give it mechanical changes from gearing to skid plates to wheel tire combo. And you also on the Trailhawk version got a rear recovery point, which is a really nice thing in this category of car. The Jeep Renegade was in the subcompact class of SUV. So this competed with vehicles like the Honda HR-V, the Subaru Crosstrek. It's now a really competitive segment. It wasn't quite as competitive when the Renegade launched almost 10 years ago. But what Jeep claimed set the Renegade apart was its off-road capability. So they came out with this model, the Trailhawk, right at launch, which gave it a little bit of additional suspension lift, some more aggressive tires. But interestingly enough, it also came with proper underbody protection in the front as well as toward the back underneath the fuel tanks, which in retrospect is kind of cool because this segment now is so popular with the Seltos and the Kona and that kind of thing, and the Renegade is no longer being sold here in the US. But really no other car has this amount of underbody protection in this segment, let alone proper recovery points front and back. You know, Subaru with the Crosstrek Wilderness has these little orange things where you can screw something in and recover that way. But these are honest to goodness recovery points integrated into the Renegade. That's pretty cool. I hate to admit it, that's pretty cool. Oh, finally we're stuck. Oh, no, we're not. It just keeps going. This is a proper Jeep trail now. And the little Renegade, it just keeps moving. I mean, I don't want to say I'm bewildered, and I'm not, because I do know it does have a trail rated badge on the side. But I am surprised that it's doing as well as it's doing. I mean, considering that this is a vehicle designed to get good fuel economy and have a lot of space on the inside, but not tackle off-road terrain, I'd say we're kind of killing it. Surprisingly, how about this big rock? Are we going to scrape? I don't know. That 8.7 inches or thereabouts of ground clearance meant that we cleared that rock. All right, well, it's going to get harder up here. Maybe finally we can vanquish the Renegade. So the interior of the Renegade is pretty plastic, fantastic. Lots of kind of hard, cheapy materials, but don't really care because it's a used car, and when you're out in the dirt, it's easy to wipe down, which is fantastic. And it's also a very comfortable interior. So this is a pretty basic Trailhawk. We have this little 3.5-inch Uconnect screen, which is still, this is a bold opinion, but one of the best systems ever put in a car because it's got AM/FM radio and Bluetooth connectivity and nothing else. No gobbledygook to screw you up. We also have heated seats and heated steering wheel in this car, and there were a lot of screen and interior configurations that changed over the years, and they all kind of evolved a little bit. It's not a luxury interior. It's very durable and super usable. Look at this. Look at this. Imagine that. Hard controls for climate control. What a concept in 2024. So the trail we're running today is called Jack's Tracks. Now this is an excellent trail. It's actually one of my new favorites in Moab because it's very hidden, well off the beaten track. And with Onyx Off-Road, you can find where you're at out on the trail and also check out the difficulty. So you never get lost and you always know what you're getting into. This is a great app. It also works with Apple CarPlay if we had it, which we don't. Now look, one of the things I always thought was a little gimmicky in the Renegade, oh, come on, baby. Come on, there you go, was the various terrain modes. So there's a dial down here by the shifter, and you've got, you know, automatic, snow, sand, that kind of thing. But if you got the Trailhawk, you got some additional terrain modes, including a rock mode, which is what we're in now. And what rock mode is doing is it's braking the wheels that are spinning, trying to send and find traction with the wheels on the ground to maintain forward momentum. Now, it doesn't have a proper rear diff lock like the Wrangler or like even the Jeep Cherokee of this era, but shockingly, it's actually doing a good job of managing wheel speed. And then, come on, baby, oh, wow, it did it! It climbed that pretty good-sized rock. Okay, we're gonna try to 2-foot it here. This vehicle also has a button that says 4 low. And this, in my mind, is a little bit deceitful because it doesn't actually have a low range set of gears. Instead, what it does is lock the 9-speed into first gear, which I just dismissed and thought it wouldn't be enough for actual trail use. But the gearing, it's kind of working. Like, working surprisingly well, considering we only have, I think it's 180 horsepower and 175 pound-feet of torque. We're maintaining forward momentum like it's nothing. Look at that. I'm not even full throttle. Like with the Subarus, you spend a lot of time with those CVTs at max throttle trying to get the torque delivery. This, I'm just crawling with typically under a third of the pedal, under a quarter of the pedal. Wow. Time for something a little trickier. So I'm up against these ledges in the Renegade, and it's going to look like nothing on camera, but this is going to be a great test of this vehicle. I promise it's harder than the Walmart parking lot it probably looks like. We've got these good steps. They're probably 8-10 inches in some places, and it's quite steep. So we're in rock mode, first gear with that 4-wheel drive low. We also have our 4-wheel drive lock engaged. I'm kind of skeptical whether or not we're going to be able to do this, but we're going to give it a try. Come on, Jeep. That's when we're running out of torque. Okay. Let's take a look at the situation here. How can we tackle this? It's gonna be down to line placement. Come on, baby. There we go. Come on, come on. Come on, baby. Come on. There you go. Come on. Come on, Jeep. Oh, I'm gonna have to give it a little bit of a bump here, I think, to get it up and over this rock. Oh ho ho! Yes! Shockingly good. Look, is it a... What was that? That was a rock. Is it a Wrangler? Absolutely not. But for what is just an affordable little runaround meant to take the kids to school, heck yeah! That's pretty awesome. There is a Jeep badge up here on the trunk in both of the taillights. There's a grill in both of the headlights. There's a Sasquatch in the rear window. There's a grill in the speaker grill. There's a Jeep grill up here by the mirror on both sides. It seems like every cubby there's some kind of topographical map or Jeep grill. This one has both of them. And above the screen it says since 1941. And even by the start button it says to new adventures. Look, they're really trying to convince you that this is a proper Jeep, which is a little tacky. It's also a little cutesy. However, they do have some self-awareness because here in the fuel filler, it says, "Ciao, baby." A little throwback to its Italian heritage. All right, final obstacle in the little Renegade. Big divots, some big rocks here. I'm not convinced we're gonna be able to get up this, but we're gonna give it a try. Trans temp, by the way, so the transmission is typically the first thing to overheat when you take these crossovers off-road because the gearing typically isn't there and then you end up just riding the torque converter to oblivion. We're actually at 187 on the trans temp even after cruising up this trail for the last 20 minutes. So I think that's pretty good. Oh, it's sandy here. I'm gonna try to 2-foot it here, take it nice and slow. Oh, we're in a big divot here. Let's check out what's going on. I think we just ran out of tire. I think the hole's too big for the tires. Let's see. Oh, gee. So what's happening here is we're digging down into this little sandy divot and we're actually starting to run out of approach angle on the driver's side. So we just need a bigger tire to really clear this. The bigger issue is right here though, because this is the smaller of the rocks. And I think it might kill the Renegade. We'll give it one more go, but we may have hit the end of the ability of what the little Jeep can do. So this is a tough obstacle because I can't really bump it or I'm gonna slam the underside into this rock. And while there are skid plates on some things, like the rear diff is still very unprotected. Ooh. We're starting to slide off the trail now. Bad news bears. Oh, come on, Jeep. Don't let me down. Come on, Falcon tires. Do what you can to grip. Come on, baby. Come on, Jeep. Let's see what's going on. I think the tires are just too small. So look, here's the thing. I could go balls to the wall to get past this first ledge and probably run a good chance of scraping the rear diff on the way up. But then we got the second ledge up here. So we've hit the capability of the Renegade on this obstacle. Is it acceptable? For a Wrangler, I'd be disappointed. For a car that gets 26, 27 mpg and holds 5 people comfortably and cost 11 grand used, I think we did pretty well. 10 years later, 10 years after the Renegade went on sale, is it as disappointing as I remember? You know, I don't think I gave this car a fair shot when it was new, and I do feel a little bad about that because, you know, I compared it to what I would consider a real Jeep, like a two-door Wrangler, pull the top off, solid axles, manual transmission. This is not that. But when you put this in the lens of a small, relatively affordable crossover that spends 99.9% of its life on the road, the capability of the Renegade is well above, I would say, every competitor in its class, even to this day. I've spent some time off-road in the Crosstrek wilderness, just a little bit, and yes, that vehicle does have a lot of ground clearance, which is awesome, but it doesn't quite have the gearing or the sophistication or the torque management that the Renegade seems to have. At least in the real world, it doesn't deliver the same performance that this vehicle does. Now, is it a better car all around? Yeah, this Renegade I still would say is pretty cheaply made, and I don't really trust the long-term reliability of this 9-speed transmission, which has a little bit of a track record. And the list goes on about some of my other reliability concerns, but for what it is, it's very good. And I think this car has a bad reputation largely in the US because they sold these things in, I think, the millions around the world, specifically like Brazil and some markets where these are still for sale. They sell incredibly well, and people use them genuinely, maybe not rock crawling, but on dirt roads and to commute to family and friends' house well off the beaten track, and they seem to hold up okay in those environments. So, no, I'm not as disappointed as I was expecting to be. I'm actually quite pleased. This is a small vehicle with huge windows that's easy to see out of, with a lot of room, and an engine that's a little anemic on the road, kind of decent off the road though. It's with this Trailhawk, I think it's got like 420 gearing in the axle ratio versus 373 on the standard Renegade. It's got enough torque. It's doing everything I'm asking it to do without any fuss. It's a little creaky. Oh, and it's a little wobbly here and there, but it's really doing a nice job. I'm very impressed. Of course, we paid 11 grand for this. 100,000 miles, clean title. You could get a better Wrangler TJ or a Cherokee XJ or whatever for this price point. Granted with higher miles, it could be older, but those vehicles aren't going to be nearly as good on the road as this. Sure, this is a little slow and wheezy and buzzy, but it's got independent suspension and real brakes and airbags and traction control and ABS and modern technology, so it drives fine on the road, unlike a 94 XJ, which is going to drive like a 94 XJ on the road, especially when you lift it. So I think the compromise is definitely worth in this Renegade. I wouldn't use it as a rock crawler on a daily basis, but if you're looking to dip your toes into the world off-roading and still have a comfortable car to daily drive, maybe consider a Renegade Trailhawk. Well, I hate to admit it, but I was properly wrong about the Jeep Renegade Trailhawk. Look, it's not a Wrangler, it's not even a Cherokee Trailhawk, because those had a true low range and a rear locker. But for the size of the vehicle and the price point, it's very good for light to moderate off-roading, especially when you upgrade the tires. I was blown away with these Falcon Wildpeak AT4W Performance. First time off-road, we're gonna have to run them through some more paces, but they held up to everything and they really offered very good traction, transformed the capability of this car. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As always, has been Tommy, behind the camera Alex. We'll see you in another video.